M&M news?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. No more heels.
No more heels and an anxious M&M.
Oh,
Yeah,
to represent anxiety, depression, and
because that's what I love to do when I'm eating M&Ms is thinking about how anxious I am.
Those are the most fun people to be around.
I just don't understand anymore.
No.
I'd like to believe that I do, but when did we get to a point where M&M fake people realize that M&Ms aren't like real people, right?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure anymore either. I'm against altering M&Ms to be more lifelike, I guess. I don't need my M&Ms to be anxious. I don't need my M&Ms to be wearing, different shoes to make me feel more comfortable.
Well, hold on. Didn't the yellow one, the peanut M&M, doesn't he kind of already have anxiety? He's like the worry wart, right?
Well, right, but like I think the one of them will be actually have, I don't know how they're going to portray it, but I guess he'll be actually have anxiety. And they changed it so their arms match the color of their skin. Like their shell, I guess.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, because they thought it was like whitewashing by having them all have this color arms.
I don't know what to say, man. I just don't. I really.
It's don't. It's really nice to wake up to news like that.
So
and then I go and I watch the NFL and just get lost in sports because that's all that.
So this is all just for the commercials, right? When else do we see M&Ms?
Well, the movies.
M&M World.
You see them in, they have the yellow ones like, no, it's an envelope.
Nice. That was pretty good.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I love that commercial.
Are you the voice actor?
No comment.
Yeah. Yeah, he's contractually not able to talk about it.
So basically we as a society are collectively losing our minds.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll talk about that more later with masks. That'll be a fun one for sure. All right. Welcome back to the locker room. It's been 2 weeks. Andrew missed 2 weeks ago. I don't remember why.
2 weeks
ago?
No,
we both did. That was me.
Yeah.
Jury duty.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, how'd that go?
Good. Guilty. I can talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, he strangled his girlfriend.
So you actually had an interesting one?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, he strangled his...
You were wishing for it, too. You were
I was hoping for a good one if I was going to do it. But, yeah, I got selected for jury duty. I was one of 14, and we had to decide if a guy strangled his intimate partner is how it was defined, because they were not married, but they had 2 kids together, and they'd been together for 10 years. And then he prevented her from calling the cops. And, yeah, so he got second-degree assault for strangulation, and he was currently on probation for a federal fraud charge. So the county's not going to be happy with him because of second-degree assault, but then the feds are going to be really pissed that he broke his probation for 3 counts of felony fraud.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's pretty
good.
exciting.
We were there. We deliberated for a day and a half, a decent amount of time.
Oh.
But it was pretty interesting. Not surprisingly, I was, the head juror. They voted me in to be the rest of the jurors. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, you're going to head your resume with that?
Yeah, exactly. That's good. That's actually how I lead my resume now.
I really like mine.
Nice.
Mine's really good.
Can we get yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good. I like the Simpson reference after that video we watched.
Yeah.
That was very funny. But yeah, really interesting stuff. I was one of 4 who was not going to convict, actually, at the time. The evidence didn't really line up until we really sat down and hashed out timelines and everything, but it was pretty interesting stuff.
Oh.
I need to share this on Facebook.
Wow.
But, yep, finally got to the point where we all agreed and sent him away.
Well, thank you for serving us.
I try to tell people that, and they just don't see it quite like that. So
Aren't you like a leader nationally, too, or something?
To everybody.
Aren't you like emerging?
I'm an emerging leader.
Uh-huh.
Exactly right. All right, number 73. Since we missed MLK Day last week, I did have this really cool story that I saw on Twitter that I do want to kind of read real quick. Did you see this?
Oh, I did, yeah.
So the WSU and Martin Luther King Jr. have an interesting connection. Former WSU basketball coach George Raveling, owner of the original I Have a Dream speech, because at the time where he was a volunteer coach at Villanova, and he was 6'4", he was working security at the Washington Mall when MLK turned to his left and for a brief instant found himself face-to-face with Raveling, who said, "Dr. King, pointing at the papers, can I have that?" What an awesome thing. And he did. He gave it to him. And people have offered him up to $3 million for the speech. He refuses to sell, saying that the speech is too important, saying it would cheapen the memory of that remarkable day. That's pretty cool.
Do you know who...
Literally, just could you imagine, You're Martin Luther. Hey, can I have that?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
right after
Yeah.
a speech in front of however many millions of people. Or, yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
You know who really owned the day though?
Who? What day?
MLK Day last week.
Who?
Darren Ravel. Did you see that?
I saw something, but what did he say actually?
People were accusing him of being racist, and I think it was in a
love
joking
Twitter.
fashion. I know, right? No better content out there than accusing people of racism. And he, in his defense, said that he has over 9 signed MLK items.
Ravel?
Yeah. And that he had Rosa Parks' NAACP signed card. It's like, well, it has to have a signature on it. And he's like, so I don't know how a white man can't love MLK. It was an all-time just like, it was rough. It was really rough. And he went on to University of Miami Twitter space to do this. So just kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
I'm surprised you didn't see that because that was
all
over the place.
I probably was busy celebrating.
Thoughts on Darren Ravel? Just in general?
He's funny. Like he just knows how to rile people up. He's also very annoying. Like I think he thinks he's like one of the coolest people on the planet, but he's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
I think is a nice way to put that. All right, number 73s. You got anything any for me?
Jamarco
Jones was in fact number 73.
I don't.
All right, I got a couple.
I kind of think it's a weak number.
It is.
Out of all the ones in the 70s, 73 is not up there.
Michael Bowie.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a backup swing tackle.
Yeah.
And then Ray Roberts, who's the best 73 in Seahawks history, who now does Seahawks pregame, postgame.
Oh.
He works on 1011 or 700 ES. Or actually, it's 93.7. Anyway, all of them.
Okay.
But 94.5, rock out with your hawk out is what.
Jesus Christ.
That's their saying.
Is it really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They say it. They say it all like when they introduce it's like this is 94.5, rock out with your hawk out.
I don't know if I love or hate that. I think
I've always liked it.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah. Same.
Really?
Also, is it just me or is it cold in here? Like drafty AF.
It is surprisingly cold.
It's
here,
a little
considering
chilly.
it's almost always sweltering.
It's always
Yeah.
very warm.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that
no, it's
everybody else
definitely
was
not just you. I walked in and I was like, "Hey,
it's about to
cold,
on. What's going on?
chilly."
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little chilly in
Cool.
here.
I'm glad we got that ironed out.
Yeah, of course, man. All right, you're up.
With what? Oh, sorry.
You are so distraught.
Oh, man.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh my.
That really threw me off. Yeah, I want to tell you about our friends. This show is sponsored by Lucky Bird, Spokane-based e-commerce and digital marketing company. Stop laughing. Dedicated to helping local companies scale in the online world of e-commerce and digital marketing. Visit luckybirdbrands.com to have a down-to-earth, no-pressure conversation about your digital marketing and e-commerce strategies. Woo.
Sam, you spelled sponsored wrong. in
Nice.
the description. Sponsored.
Spokane Talks is predicated on typos.
Well, of course. That's Spokane. It can't be perfect.
True.
All right. You know what I miss? I've been listening to a lot of, you have listened to Mike Salk?
I see clips.
So, because he goes from 6 to 10, and we get him here on 700 ESPN. But anyway, he was talking, and he just is mentioning how much he misses talking about baseball. And I heard him say that, and I kind of thought, and I was like, well, maybe it's just not as fun. NFL is in full swing right now. And then I thought about it more. When you have a team that is on the verge of being actually good after being so bad for so long, you do miss the option to talk about them and talk about potential moves, talk about what they're going to be doing, about the roster construction, things like that. And it's almost February, and we haven't talked baseball for months. And I miss it too. I really like that point because I would love to be talking about right now all of the acquisitions that the Mariners have had, the trades that they're involved in, who they're going to be drafting. I mean, there's all sorts of things that we could be talking about. Is Julio Rodriguez going to make the opening day roster? Is George Kirby going to make the opening day roster? Who is, who isn't? Who else they're going to be signing? We can't do any of that. I want to talk Mariners, and I want to talk about them so badly.
Dude, the MLB better get their poop in a group here.
Well, they're meeting today.
I know.
Yeah.
So the the MLB, the PA is coming back with a counter proposal, right?
Yep.
Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a massive day.
Yeah.
Where they really need to figure things out.
Whew.
Yeah.
This is just like all the time with baseball. I know this doesn't happen every year, but it feels like it happens every year.
Right. It just seems there's just some sort of lull in some capacity. Yeah. The thing that I miss the most is just being able to talk about it, even just in general. Baseball still, for everything that they do wrong, is still America's pastime. Still going to be kind of considered the most, summer sport. It's you drink a beer, have a hot dog, you sit and you watch baseball. It just is the foundational American sport. NFL rules American sports, but baseball seems to be what it's. Baseball, and the NFL was built on baseball is what it feels like. The foundation of sports in America is baseball.
I'll let that pass, yeah.
All right, thanks. Yeah,
yeah.
Thanks for the permission. I just think that...
But this is all just accelerated because of the fact that the Mariners are actually good, and we're coming off, the tail end of the season being super exciting. And,
definitely.
Yeah.
I completely agree that is a large portion probably of why...
I was going to say, because if we were heading into another typical Mariners year, I mean, would you really be chomping at the bit to talk Mariners right now?
If it was last year, yes. But yeah, no. In normal circumstances, you'd probably not be. But still, the Mariners need to get an impact starter and a third baseman.
Yeah, they still need that third baseman. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Once they do that, they're going to be in very good shape. I wish I could figure out where I want to be here. But you just brought up a really good point. The Mariners are in such a good spot right now that I hope that they stay in that spot and they do the things that they have promised that they'll do, because Seattle deserves to have a good baseball team. That's my little rant.
Some place in Washington does. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So news from this morning, Gonzaga is now number 2 in the AP poll. They dropped out of the number 1 spot. They beat San Francisco on Thursday, 12, I think, 14, 16, 18, somewhere in there. But they were knocked off by Auburn, who was only 4 points back from the Zags in last week's poll. Did you see that, how close that was?
I didn't know.
The total point count, between GU and Auburn last week, GU had 1,486 points. Auburn had 1,482. It was off by 4 points. But Auburn ended up stomping Georgia midweek, and then they beat Kentucky on Saturday by 12. So it's probably fair, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
If you beat them. It's still really close. Right now, the point differential is only 29. Zags got 15 first-place votes. Auburn got 45, and Arizona grabbed 1. It's cool seeing Tommy Lloyd do well.
I have a bad feeling that they're going to see Gonzaga in the tournament. Yeah, I have an inkling, which could obviously be very incorrect, but I don't know. That would scare me to death, actually.
Yeah, that's fair. I think what they're doing down there is really, really impressive.
Playing basketball.
At
a high level.
You see Omar Ball had 21 points on Thursday?
Where is he? Is he
Arizona?
Arizona?
Yeah, he shot 7 for 8 from the floor.
Wow.
I think his only good game of the year, but still. I didn't know that actually happened. Sam, I can't get the chat app open on Restream.
It updated last week, and so it's a little funky.
Sense.
So we'll get you set up on that.
Just let me know. Can you see the comments on
I can.
Twitch?
Nothing so far.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just watch on Facebook.
There's
then
just millions of people just spamming questions just nonstop. This is our highest viewed show of all time.
I knew it. It's probably the M&M talk that drew everyone in, if I had to guess.
Got the eyes.
It's got to be. It really pulled in the audience.
It really pulled in the audience. All right, so that one thing, speaking of the M&Ms, the other thing that we mentioned that we would talk about that was typical of what we're dealing with right now in society. John Stockton got his season tickets revoked because he was not wearing his mask at Gonzaga games, where they were required to. They don't serve food or beverage at GU games right now because they're trying to prevent people from having an excuse to take their mask off. And they said essentially, hey, John, you're obviously super famous and you get shown on every single broadcast and everyone knows who you are and everyone knows exactly what you look like. And you're being very obvious in not wearing your mask. So are you going to wear it? And he thought about it and told them no. So essentially, I think they said, well, that violates our terms and conditions of having tickets to GU games. We will have to revoke your season tickets. So now John Stockton is not welcome at Gonzaga home games.
I don't know if there's a bigger indicator of just the collapse society.
It's really interesting everything that's going on because I'm a little worried that things are going to shut down again.
Are you?
Well, Sam, you have
I
something
would
to say?
also agree with Justin. I think there's a high I don't think it'll be as bad as it was before because I think the majority of people are going to be like, no. But I could see there being a pretty large shutdown happening.
Well, okay. So what's the worst thing right now? Schools? Just because everybody's got
it's teachers. I mean, it's just schools are bad right now. There's a lot of remote learning going on. But everything has shorted. Even the IRS said we may not be able to do your taxes on or not even, they don't do taxes. We have to do our own taxes, which also is a discussion for another day. All they do is take our money. Isn't that crazy though? They're like, hey, we know exactly what you owe us, but you got to figure it out for yourself. Because
and don't mess it up.
And if you mess it up, we're going to be pretty pissed. And we're not going to be happy about it. We're going to fine you for doing it. We know exactly what you owe.
Justin is passionate
yeah,
about
I was
that
going to say,
topic.
you
Right?
just went up like 3 octaves.
That makes sense, right? You see
Yeah.
how that just, yeah. Anyway, it seems like there's a lot of areas, especially because the NCAA tournament is a large portion of it is in California.
Mm-hmm.
The Super Bowl is in California.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how this all is going to work. But the ICU's packed, I guess, or whatever. But when you look at this whole situation, the spokesman review broke the news, which was good to see. And yeah, just doing our due diligence there. I think this is a situation where you're alienating the most viewed member of these games, the most recognizable member of these games,
The most synonymous member
of Gonzaga basketball.
Yeah, right.
And you're making an example out of them. And in doing so, I think you're bringing a lot of negative PR to your program. Because I guarantee if you look at the 6,000 people who are sitting in McCarthy Athletic Center for these home games, and you look across the stands, is John Stockton the only one not wearing his mask?
Absolutely not.
So why is it that you want to take this I am holier than you viewpoint and stand and cause Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, every single major news organization, even worldwide. I even saw this picked up by BBC. Worldwide is now, this is a problem, and it's focused directly on Gonzaga. And they did this to themselves only because I guarantee you that there were a few alumni who go to these games who know who John Stockton is and complained about it.
Probably.
And the craziest part about this isn't the first time that Gonzaga has done something that is, put a spotlight on them, for negative spotlight. They did the same thing when Dinesh D'Souza came and spoke. They did the same thing when Ben Shapiro almost came and spoke. They both times said, no, you cannot come. We do not accept your viewpoint, while also saying they accept everyone's viewpoints.
Right. That's how it
So
goes.
GU
yeah.
has done this. It seems like once every year they do something that just creates a PR nightmare. And this was the athletic department. So now the university PR team's probably looking at that saying, thanks, much appreciated.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't wait to deal with all these phone calls and emails because, again, it just is it's a mess. It's a mess that, I don't know. Stockton said the relationship is damaged between him and the university. Major donor. Has built multiple apartments on campus, is a large reason why a lot of high-end talent comes to Spokane, because he's synonymous with Gonzaga basketball. He's an NBA Hall of Famer, and I'll be very curious to see how this relationship gets rekindled.
Any, if you want to do some irresponsible speculation, you want to throw out any names that you as far as the alumni, any people?
Jesuits? No, I don't know. I'm not going to call out a whole sect here. No. Yeah, right. Yeah, cancel us. University's going to be coming after me now. I'm an alum, just like Stockton. very similar. I've done a lot for the university. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know any names, but what a very interesting time for new athletic director Chris Staniford.
Oh, yeah, seriously.
Kind of having to probably make this call himself. It probably started, and it didn't start with him, but it ended with him, as far as probably having to make that decision. So, but he was pressured to. At the same time, it's kind of a lose-lose situation, because do you think he wanted to do that? Probably not.
No.
Especially considering he's 6 months into his tenure as new athletic director. Right. I'd be very curious to know what Mike Roth has to say, and he won't say anything. He's gonna, he would be like, I lean on new athletic department. But yeah, super unfortunate situation for all involved, but also very frustrating in this world that we live in.
Do you see it changing, being undone at any point, or do you think
I don't think they can. I think they are so set in the fact that it is broken everywhere. I mean, they changed their viewpoint with Dinesh D'Souza. They allowed him to come speak because, again, it was a PR nightmare. But I think in this case, the mask up side has won the battle.
Right. So in theory, 10 years from now, if we live in a world in which we don't have to wear masks to exist or to go to any public place, does he still have his tickets revoked? Like, or are they just like, okay, now that everything's fine, like, here you go?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I mean, how do you
just like reintroduce, like,
how do you bridge that again?
Hey,
like,
John, hey. Sorry about that whole situation. Yeah, I don't know. He said that. He said it's very damaged. Is it ruined? No, but it's very damaged, and I would agree with that. By the way, speaking of well, anyway, I was at a wedding this weekend, and I was going to open my show by saying congratulations to the newlyweds, Joel and Sterling Oakland. Very happy for them. Great time. Very fun wedding. He usually watches the show, but I think he's on his honeymoon right now, so I understand why he wouldn't be.
Sterling is
no excuse.
No
he
excuse.
Should always be watching.
You're right? Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll call him out.
Sterling is an underutilized name. That's a great name.
It is an underutilized name. I know I had a Sterling in high school. I know this Sterling and Sterling Shepard.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. It's very underutilized. It's a nice name.
Roger Sterling, Mad Men.
There you go.
What's up?
Shout out.
Mm-hmm.
He's for sure watching. Yeah. All right. That's enough mask talk. It's just more frustrating than anything. But yes, congratulations. That was cool. Fun time. All right. Football. Something happened this weekend? Was there some football?
There were a few footballs.
A few footballs thrown around?
Yeah.
At least 3?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Over under set at 3.5.
Yeah, over. I made $5 at the wedding.
Damn, dude. Tell me about it.
By betting. It was a nice bet. So my buddy Tim, we were talking about earlier, right before.
Wait, is this the Tim that sucks, or
this is the Tim that got called out by that? Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes, that one. Anyway, I'll have to tell him about that. I don't think he knows about that, but it's super funny, and he would probably agree.
He should. Yeah.
So he right before the best man speech happened, he leans over to me. We're sitting at the same table, and he said, "Hey, over under 2.5." minutes. And I said, I do over under 245 and I take the over. Because I wanted to be, he said over under 3. That's right. He said over under 3. And I said, I'm not comfortable with that. Let's do 230. And he's like, no. I said, okay, 245. I'll take the over. And he went 345 and I won $5.
Nice.
And then I guess I agreed. He bought pizza for the room. And I guess I agreed that would be my payment, but I don't think that happened. I don't believe it. All right, I want to talk about the Seahawks first. I have one question.
God damn it.
I have one question to you.
Wait. You want to talk about the Seahawks first? This is a shocking revelation.
Well, yeah, they're my favorite team, and they're the best team in the league.
This is my guy.
They're the best team in the league.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Are you done?
My question. My question to you is, how close to the Seahawks are the Seahawks to being relevant?
As in the playoffs?
Yeah.
The thing is, as awful as the season was, I think if we played the season 10 times, I think at least 7 of those times we make the playoffs.
I agree.
I really do. I mean, you look at the roster, obviously we know the problem areas. Mm-hmm. You go back to the draft, could have picked up Creed Humphrey, probably would have been a good move. I don't know. I could see it all just spiraling out of control, especially if they bring everybody back, which it seems like they are. It doesn't seem like
a lot of the same. But I think they're closer than a lot of people really think. I think their safeties are set if they bring Quandre Diggs. I think Jamal Adams of 2020 is a perfect guy for the defense if you do it right. You don't have to.
Well, it's going to be curious to see who they bring in at defensive coordinator too, and how they
That's the first key. And the first thing, and I've heard a few people say this, one of the first questions you need to ask this defensive coordinator is, how are you utilizing Jamal Adams? How are you going to get Jamal Adams? And I didn't realize this. I knew he was voted once. He's a 2-time All-Pro.
Yep.
First team All-Pro
Well,
safety.
he was good when he was with the Jets. That's why we traded our entire future for him.
And I think the reason why he wasn't is he wasn't being utilized in the same way.
Not even close.
2020 was really good. He was very disruptive. Even if he wasn't great in coverage, he made enough impact plays that he still was an above average, like Pro Bowl caliber safety.
I just think
he had 9.5 sacks.
He should just be living around the line of scrimmage.
He's a box safety.
Yeah.
He's a box safety.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You could toss him out in coverage here and there.
Eh.
Yeah, here and there. But it has to be the right matchups. It has to be, below. It can't be against a George Kittle.
I was going to say, any tight end that can catch a ball.
But it could be against a Will Dissly type tight end.
Sure, yeah.
But not a Gerald Everett, in my opinion. Which, by the way, Gerald Everett, I also
bring him back. Pay that man.
You do, but I thought about it a little bit more. He made some really good plays, but I think he needed to do a little bit more. And some of that may have been on the offensive play calling. Like, he almost single-handedly lost us the Niners game.
That's true, but I feel like
he dropped a touchdown pass.
He built up enough equity over the season where it's like that was an all-time bad. Like, he will never play a game that badly in his life.
that was
pretty
an anomaly.
funny.
Yeah, that was super unfortunate.
He brings something to the offense that I don't know that Seattle's ever really had, or at least in recent memory, of just the way that he runs after the catch.
Yeah.
And just the ferocity in which he...
It's kind of like DK Metcalf, actually. Metcalf likes to run over people, and he breaks tackles. He breaks that first tackle very often.
Yes.
But yes, I would agree overall that you still bring him back. On the defensive side of the ball, safeties are set. The corners are pretty well set. DJ, if you bring him back,
came on strong. So if you bring Sidney Jones back,
you bring DJ Reed back. You have Trey Brown.
Trey Brown, hopefully coming back from injury.
That's a good 3. And you sign
bad.
Or you just continue to work in the guys. Bless Austin, whoever else behind. But
sure.
The 3 are good. Or you have Ugo, and then you're also going to get back Marquise Blair as another safety / nickel corner kind of guy. Then you look at the linebackers. Now this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
What does the number? Bobby Wagner's making $18 million if he stays in 2022. Where does that number have to be for you to start him full time? No, I got to rephrase that.
Yeah.
Where does that number have to be? Because there's a lot of people talking about Bobby Wagner being in this position where he can't be an all-time, 100% snap kind of guy anymore. And I'm on that border where I can see the argument, but you have to understand that there needs to be someone else behind him that can continue to do Bobby Wagner stuff.
See, and I want to leave him out there. I'll go down with the ship. If it ends up playing out that way, say he comes back or is back next year and he's playing 100% of the snaps, and then we definitively see, okay, maybe he can't play at this clip anymore. Right. I'm okay allowing that to happen.
Are you okay with him next year at $18 million?
I think it's kind of a Kobe Bryant thing. I am, personally. I mean, he's been holding that defense, which is kind of been the weak part of the team now here for a few years, and he's the linchpin, obviously.
What about if you had to cut Bobby Wagner to have enough money to sign like Chandler Jones? Because the biggest issue on that team is pass rush.
I
on
was
the
going to
defense.
say, we got it, yeah.
The pass rush is far and away the biggest problem.
It's so weird, too, because especially after the first week against the Colts, it's like, oh, my God, this is like one of the strengths of the team. Like, oh, my God, all these bodies that we can put out there, the rotations, it's just going to be like, like it was in 2012 and 13. Yeah, not to the same extent, but it just and then that didn't end up. Who's our best pass rusher? Rasheem?
Darrell Taylor, probably.
Yeah, I guess.
And I mean, really, for what Dunlap did he had 8 sacks in the final 6 games.
I don't understand what his deal was.
No one does.
Awful.
No one does. Well, he wasn't playing much. He played like 6 snaps one of the games.
Well, I know, but he still wasn't productive until
he was
the last quarter of the season.
He kind of mentioned this because you remember how many, and this changed as the year went on. Do you remember how often the defensive ends were dropped back into coverage? They would blitz a linebacker and then they would drop one of the ends out into the flat, and it's like, what are we doing? Because then they would get burned every single time. I mean, they would never beat. They would always get beat to the outside, and I think that changed, and I think it put less pressure on these ends to do something other than just go get the passer, and that's what they started to do there in these last few weeks. Because they got Kyler Murray like 6 times.
Yeah, and
I think so back to the original question, if you had to cut Bobby Wagner to sign Chandler Jones, who I think is the best pass rushing guy in the market right now.
I wouldn't do it. I also don't think Seattle's going to be the market for someone like that.
Would you go to probably not? Would you go to Bobby and say, "Hey, we need you to take a pay cut because we want to go pay Chandler Jones"?
You can try it, yeah, feel it out. See what's up.
Would you do it? Do you think that would ruin the relationship? Because it's been done before. They did it with Earl. They did it with Sherm. Both times we're told to screw off, and then they left.
I think you do it. I think Bobby's aware of his current position, and his current relevance at this stage of his career and his relationship with this. Yeah,
because he's also his own agent. So you're
Correct,
talking
right.
with Bob. Like
you are talking.
I'm
with,
John Schneider. You're Bobby Wagner. This is the discussion you have.
Yeah.
They did it with Dunlap last year. He came back for a pay cut. He checked out the market. I think he could have made more money somewhere, but people like to play in Seattle. We've talked about that. We've heard that a lot. People love to play in Pete Carroll, underneath Pete Carroll. They do. Look at Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson's been in like 8 teams, and he said, "I've had my favorite experience ever has been with Seattle." He's been here for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I think, or more now, but I think you try to go the pay cut route, but they need another pass rusher. They need to go spend some money on in the pass rush department because you look at the rest of the roster. You got to re-sign Rashad Penny. I think you cut Chris Carson. Yeah, I think so. Coming off a neck injury like that,
I just don't trust Penny. I really don't trust him.
He put on weight, and all of his injuries allegedly were from a result due to his torn ACL. It was all same leg and all lower body extremity issues. He's never had arm issues. He's never had upper body issues. He's never had ankle issues. It's always tissue issues.
Well, what I was kind of thinking, so if they, and I guess it's probably not likely, but if they bring both running backs back, I almost think you give the majority of the carries to Penny. I think he needs to touch the ball more and not be the secondary back that's, only getting a handful of carries a game.
I just don't know if you can have 2 guys on starting running back level contracts.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
So who'd you
pick?
pick?
Much are you gonna?
Let's just pretend that both are going to be the same amount of money.
I would pick Carson. I know that he's had his injury struggles too, but Penny, I just haven't seen enough, and I know he had an amazing final 6 games, like best running back in the league numbers. But I just don't. I don't trust him. I don't.
Let's see.
He also got a belly. I don't like a running back with a belly.
So Chris Carson's a year and a half older. Obviously, more wear and tear on his body. His birthday's only a week away from mine. Nice. I pick Penny, and you keep Homer. You keep DJ Dallas or Alex Collins. Probably DJ Dallas because Alex Collins is on a 1-year deal. He's a free agent.
Yeah.
And I think you just roll with that. I think you roll with those 3 guys. Maybe go find another vet to bring in, just to have. But I think you go with the guy who's more. And I think Carroll also sees this. Penny is the home run hitter.
Yeah.
Splash, explosive play. Carson's not.
Yes.
How many times have you seen? I think, Chris Carson earlier this year had his longest touchdown run of his career. It was, 34 yards?
Yeah, that's fair. But at the same time, I mean, the way that Chris Carson runs is the way that Pete Carroll likes his running backs to run.
You see that side of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the thing with Penny, Penny's not a bruiser, but he breaks arm tackles.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to run up the middle, blow some guy out of the way, and then keep going. He's going to be a guy who's going to go in, bounce it out outside. A guy's going to dive at his legs. He's going to break it. He's going to keep going. That's the difference.
They need to address the center position.
So that's the last position. I think the wide receivers are fine. Maybe a nice 3. Maybe, but you don't need a really good 3 in that sort of offense with DK and Tyler. I think all you would really need is a decent 3. I think a possession 3. I think
Swain's fine.
He's definitely fine, and I think D. Eskridge will be a bigger part of this offense because right when he started to get rolling in week 2 is when he got a concussion. He was out for a month. He was out for a month, and with no preseason games. Really, I don't think D really played in the preseason. I think he was dealing with a hamstring injury or something. I don't remember him playing in the preseason. He definitely didn't play with Russ.
He was out for longer than a month. He was out for 2 months.
That's the thing. I think he was only out with a concussion for a month, but I think he was inactive because I don't know what the situation was, but I think D could be a very good 3, especially if you utilize him in a way that utilizes his best skill sets.
See, and I don't trust their offense to do that.
I do, but not fully. Because you look at where Waldron came from and what the offenses are doing that he's worked for, and you saw a little bit of it. You saw some of that motion. You saw
it in week 1
and in the final 3 weeks. That offense looked so much better when they actually were moving people around. But yes, I agree. For 80% of the season, the offense looked pretty pedestrian based off of the play designs and the skill sets. But I think also Pete Carroll got a very large scare this year as far as his job security, as far as the fan base. They got booed in more than half of their home games.
As they should have.
As they definitely should have. And I think that freaked them out. I hope it did at least.
Yeah.
So I think the offense can do and can be special. But yes, the last thing we want to talk about is just the offensive line needs to be fixed. Dwayne Brown, do you bring him back? Probably. How many other left tackles out there are going to provide at least that level of leadership and skill?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I appreciate about this season is like he seemed to be the only guy that was like pissed off. Mm-hmm. That had a little fuck you to him.
Oh, he was so unhappy.
Yeah.
Oh, always.
We need that. I don't know.
Somewhere, yeah, because you when the Seahawks were really good, you had that on the defense.
On the defense, yeah, because the eternal optimism of Russell.
You know, Diggs is kind of like that too. Diggs was always getting mad too. I saw a lot from Diggs, but yes, still, I think the offense needs a guy to keep them accountable because they didn't have that. Marshawn was a little like that actually. You could see him get upset but not super like he's gonna. You could just tell in his demeanor more so than his actions. Like you could tell by the way he was sitting on the bench, for instance, because he wasn't bringing the same energy. And I think Dwayne Brown's similar in that regard, with a little more flashes of how pissed off he actually is. All right, NFL this weekend was absolutely insane. I don't want to talk about the head coaches anymore because the things are changing. Brian Flores was not fired because he was black. Also, by the way, do you remember that whole thing that came out? Saying it was a race issue.
Yeah.
He's going to go to a better position. He's going to be very, very good. He's going to get hired as a head coach. I'm not too worried about it. Now, if he doesn't get hired as a head coach this year, I might be like, what's going on here? Right. But he's going to get hired somewhere.
It was a relational issue. It was a Tua and is it Will Greer? Chris Greer? Whoever the I think GM is, right? But that's what it was there. Mm-hmm. But
and Sean Payton, there's rumors that he may not come back to New Orleans.
I would love if he just went to Dallas. I would love if Dallas fired Mike McCarthy, and I don't know.
It'd be very interesting. And then the other last thing I do want to mention is the Bears are finally without Matt Nagy, and I know my buddy AJ is super thrilled about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I trust them to hire a decent coach.
Oh, I for sure don't. But at least it's not going to be Matt Nagy.
True.
That's the big key. All right, yes. So this weekend, the worst game of the weekend was probably the Packers-Niners. It was, 13-10 or 16-something or whatever.
I don't know. That Bengals-Titans game was rough.
Yeah, it wasn't great. That's probably, yeah.
I like the Packers and the Niners at least because it was aesthetically pleasing. It was in Lambeau.
Right.
It was white. It was
peak
playoff football,
Lambeau.
And it was a great uniform matchup.
That's true. I'd agree with that. Okay, that's
Bengals,
fair.
Titans,
Yeah, Bengals have a bad jersey.
Actually, no. The Titans have bad jerseys.
They both have bad jerseys.
The Bengals are kind of sick.
Nah,
the
I don't
Bengals,
like the
if they're good, their jerseys are sick.
Okay.
If they're bad, they're candy.
This is super fun. Yeah, you're 100% right. So I was listening to Mike Salk again, and he said that he doesn't know what it is, but it's probably because when, like in the past, you would turn on the TV, you saw Bengals, and you're like, gross.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. Like that jersey in the back of your mind
is associated with
bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's probably a good part of it, and that's probably true. Because I think I don't like the Browns jersey. I think they're boring and bland. And,
I love the Browns jerseys. They're clean.
Yeah,
AF.
I guess.
I love them.
So the games I want to talk about, let's just kind of go game by game. I didn't watch any of the Packers-Niners, but the thing I want to talk about, there's a couple things. The Niners going to the NFC Championship in this season where they've been above average but not good is super frustrating. I hate it. They have Deebo Samuel on offense. They have a good running game. Mm-hmm. That's it. They have a decent offensive line. On defense, they have Fred Warner at linebacker. That's it. They have a solid pass rush.
Nick Bosa, Fred Warner.
Those are the two.
That's all you need. And their secondary is playing in harmony, though.
Well, that's because
what DeMeco Ryans has been doing with that defense, especially whatever it's been the last 4 weeks, they're clicking. They're hot at the right time.
Since the Seahawks ran all over them.
Yeah, but who cares? Because the Seahawks aren't here anymore. So shut up.
I hate the Niners. I hate.
Why? I hate the Rams.
I hate the Rams more too, but I hate that the NFC
I was telling
Championship.
You this pre-show, I respect Shanahan. I mean, what he's been able to do. I don't know if they. Okay, so there's speculation that they always, as far as personnel goes, just take guys with really sketchy injury histories in medicals.
Interesting.
And because
a bold strategy.
During his tenure, he's had how many marred seasons of injury? Like
Always.
almost every season except for the season that they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, even this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, even this year. And what he's able to do with that team and that offense and the way they run the ball and the way that they use Trent Williams, in motion, just the things that they do. I don't know, man. I would love for our head coach to do shit like that, but we're not that fortunate. So I disagree. I like this Niners run, and I hope they beat the Rams. I hope to God they beat the Rams.
I also
if the Rams go to the Super Bowl, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, I could be down for that.
Cool.
Like myself as well.
All right.
Yes, I hope the Niners go to the Super Bowl, and I hope the Bengals beat the Chiefs and then destroy the Niners.
Wouldn't that be cool if it was a renewed rivalry? Yeah, the Bengals and the 49ers.
I would love more than anything to see the Bengals win, but I also will be 100% on board the Chiefs beating whoever makes it to the NFC champion or the Super Bowl from the NFC.
If the 49ers make it, I'm going to want the Niners over the Chiefs. I'm really over Patrick, not as a person, but just as...
I just like Andy Reid.
Really?
I like Andy Reid.
He just looks so bad in that red.
Oh, I know. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's so funny. Jaron Reed, I got to stick with the Reeds.
No,
even though he left kind of like a douchebag.
Yeah, he totally did.
Frank Clark's fine.
And he injured Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
That was bad.
Except I hate Tyrann Mathieu.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
No.
I hate Tyrann Mathieu.
Okay.
Honey Badger. Not interested.
Anyway, Green Bay. Holy
yes, so
crap.
let's go to Green Bay. So Rodgers now, I don't know what his playoff record is, but it's not good.
No, since 2017, Blake Bortles has more playoff wins. Joe Burrow now has more playoff wins. There was another quarterback that it was like, oof.
With Saturday's loss to San Francisco, Aaron Rodgers became the only quarterback in NFL history to lose 4 playoff starts to a single opponent. He does not like to play the Niners.
Dude, and so what was it a couple of years ago? He's like, we got to get the 1 seed. We got to have that home field advantage. We got to host the championship game. And then they hosted it last year, and they lost to Brady. And then you can't even get out of the divisional against a Niners team that you
Isn't
should
that
beat.
good?
You should beat. I mean, again, what you got?
Aaron Rodgers is 11-9 as a starter in the postseason. The 11 wins are tied with former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Troy Aikman, 11-4, and Roger Staubach with 11-6.
Nice. 11-9 with some really good Packers
so if
teams.
Brady won yesterday, he would have eclipsed Rodgers for NFC playoff wins.
I know, yeah. It's just super funny. He's only been here for 2 years.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, 11-9 with a guy who is, probably on pure quarterback play, the best quarterback of this generation.
Yeah, and he was kind of the reason that they lost yesterday. He would not stop targeting on Saturday, Devontae. Mm-hmm. And if you go back and watch some of those plays, you got Alan Lazard open on most of them, and he's just force feeding Devontae, which I understand.
Which is
if you're
fine.
Force feed a
it's
guy,
working.
But I don't know, man.
Right?
It's bad. I don't know what's going to happen there. I feel like he's going to end up being back in Green Bay. Where are you going to go?
I don't know. I think he just doesn't want to be there. I think he's done. I think he's so done with the Packers.
You think he retires?
I don't think so.
How could he be done
but
with
he
the
could.
Packers?
He could, though. He seems like a guy who could retire and come back.
Yeah.
He seems like he could Brett Favre us. I could easily see that just to get out of Green Bay.
I don't know. How frustrated as a fan base do you think they are to have 2 of the best quarterbacks
and have
of the past
2
couple
titles.
Generations? And yeah, that's it.
Right?
And only
Favre only won 1.
Favre only won 1.
And Rodgers won in 10.
Favre went to 2, won 1.
Yeah.
Rodgers only been to 1.
It's crazy, actually.
It was Super Bowl.
Because Favre arguably was the best quarterback in the 90s on a pure quarterback basis. Like his ability to make plays.
Well, nobody else was throwing like him back then.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
He was a lot more conservative. Mm-hmm. And coaches didn't let their quarterbacks
It's going to be another rough offseason to be a Packers fan. I think I think Seattle's settled. I think Russell Wilson's coming back. I think everyone's coming back. Even though I don't care what rumors come out there, I don't think anything's going to change.
Thanks for force feeding the Seahawks back into this conversation.
Right.
That's not about the Seahawks.
Well, it's just comparing the situations as far as quarterbacks go. Because I think Aaron Rodgers' situation is 10 times more volatile than Russell Wilson's currently is with Seattle.
Yes.
And I think there's a very good chance that Rodgers somehow gets out of there because he has the ability in his contract.
Is Devontae going to leave too?
Maybe.
Probably.
Packers may have a rough go because the rest of that.
Did you see his mention of the contracts? How a lot of people's contracts are up or on the brink, and how he's not wanting to be
part of a rebuild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
don't worry,
man.
Jordan Love will take care of it.
Yeah.
All right, the other game that day, the early game, Bengals Titans.
Who day?
Very, very happy for the Bengals. That'll be fun.
They did not deserve to win that game.
Probably
Tennessee
not.
didn't really
No one
deserve to win it either, especially the way that Tannehill played. But man, they got lucky. And Evan McPherson is probably the second best kicker in the NFL already.
Yeah,
I had him on my fantasy, and he was nails.
that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is the Titans have a really good defensive line, and they've shown that all year.
Yeah.
And they destroyed Burrow and that offensive line. And you look at what the Chiefs have. The Chiefs have a decent defensive line with Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and Jaron Reed, but a worse defense from top to bottom than the Titans have.
Which is weird because in a season, the Titans totally turned around their flaws, which was their defense. Like their third down, they couldn't get off the field last year at all.
And I think a lot of that is Vrabel's. I think Vrabel's a stud. I really like.
I do too. I really do too. But I think we see the limitations of how far this team can go when Ryan Tannehill is the guy, because everything else has to be working in tandem as far as the run game goes, to set up the play action, to set up the passes, to make Tannehill comfortable.
And they have the weapons.
And I think they should have. I think they should have run Dante Foreman more.
Yeah, he had a really nice run. I missed it, but I saw him get tackled.
You could tell Derek just.
He looked a little slow.
You got to play him, but he's not healthy.
I think he might be healthy, but he's essentially starting like it's the first preseason game.
Yeah.
He's just not up to football speed.
Rust
right. He's not up to football speed, but you had to play him though.
Yeah.
I think in that situation, because it gave him a big boost. I bet at the beginning of the game. I think that kind of dwindled as the game went on. But I think Ryan Tannehill is serviceable. But you're right. Other things need to be going right for it. For everything to go right.
But I'm stoked for the Bengals, man. This is awesome. I'm actually, in a way, I'm kind of relieved that the Bills did not win, because I don't know how I could choose between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow had they met in the AFC Championship. But Joe Burrow, man, what a swagger, what a culture changer.
Burrow is the first quarterback drafted number 1 overall to win a divisional round playoff game within his first 2 seasons. That's crazy.
Wow.
Well, that even includes Andrew Luck and RG3, who both had awesome rookie years. Seahawks squeezed them back in. The reason why that RG3 didn't advance further.
Yep.
So I think when we're looking at the other stat I wanted to read that I saw here, Jamar Chase had 5 catches for 109 yards, 95 of which came after the catch.
Yep.
His first 4 catches, air yards, were -1, -2, 0, and 0.
Yep.
His only catch beyond the line of scrimmage was his final reception, which was for 17 air yards. He's a monster. He's a bona fide budding star. Like, potentially drafted in the top. He'll be drafted in the top 20.
He's justifying the draft pick.
Yeah.
He's justifying the draft pick. And, the draft pick could have also been used for somebody to bolster the line, because they did give up 9 sacks.
Right.
They won a game in which they gave up 9 sacks.
Well,
which
that goes back to
incredible.
They mentioned that's who they should have taken instead. But when you have a guy like that, it's harder to find an absolute stud wide receiver than it is to find a league average tackle.
I think that's fair. If you're the Bengals though, and if you're Zach Taylor and you're in control of the offense, quick passing game, like anything, heard of it ever?
Yeah.
I understand that Joe Burrow, one of the things that makes him great is that he's willing to stay in that extra second in the pocket, take those licks, and allow his wide receivers to make
half
a break.
A second.
Yeah. And that's what makes him great. But at the same time, like, he also had some help.
He also tore his ACL last year. So
that is
we
also
should probably
true.
be careful with him. The other thing about this game, Burrow, and I don't remember who made this comparison. It may have been Brock Hurd. Joe Burrow, he said, is the most Brady-like quarterback since Tom Brady. Yeah. Because he's not very mobile. He's more athletic, but
he's mobile in the pocket.
Right, but
it's not a scrambling.
He does not scramble at all.
No, but his pocket awareness presence,
is way
and
up there.
Mobility is incredible.
And just the swag and the attitude is very, and it's borderline cocky,
unflappable,
right?
As they say.
Borderline cocky, and I wouldn't say cocky though, but I would say borderline, just like Brady.
Well, did you hear what Evan, the kicker, said?
No.
So he did one swing as he was trotting out there, and then he told everybody on the bench, he's like, all right, I guess we're going to the AFC Championship.
Nice.
He swung his leg once.
That's pretty funny. That is really funny.
So the Bengals kind of have, they kind of got a cockiness. They kind of, they're going to be the underdogs for sure. Going in to Arrowhead.
Yep.
I do see a world in which they can beat the Chiefs because they've already beaten the Chiefs, and I think if the Chiefs come out sloppy or aren't really taking the task at hand too seriously, I think the Bengals could catch them. I do think that
the Bengals have the offense, just like the Bills, to stay in.
Well, and their
in
defense,
touch too.
I think their defense, I think, is underrated, and they got some playmakers. And I'm hoping, man.
Right. I would agree with that. All right. Next game. Bucks, Rams.
That game was drunk.
That game was it's the first 3 quarters blew.
Yeah.
That game was horrible. I was like, great. I'm a little hungover from this wedding, and I'm watching this horrible game.
Yeah.
And it was bad for a while, but then all of a sudden it just popped off, and it popped off really fast.
Yeah. The Rams did everything in their power to lose that game.
And they should have. I wanted them so badly to lose.
They lost 4 fumbles.
Yeah, I wanted them to lose. I was so happy
I was stoked.
When Brady set up that, and then I was like, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then Cooper Kupp did his thing, which is really cool for this area still. A lot of people are still absolutely enthralled with him, and rightfully so.
I just wish it wasn't the Rams. I can't get, I understand it, I appreciate it, but I don't love him like other
I hope the
people
day of
love him.
reckoning comes when they can't afford Cooper Kupp and he goes somewhere else.
Right.
Anywhere else,
Yep.
except for the Niners or the Cardinals. Anywhere else, I'll be okay with. That game was wild. The other thing that I want to talk about, so Brady's very non-committal about next season. I think he comes back at this moment. I think it might take a little bit for him to say yes, but I think by March 1st, I think he says he comes back.
I agree. It was interesting because there wasn't a lot of chatter going into the game about the possibility, which is a very real one, that it could be his last game.
Right. There was a little bit of a mention saying if he won the Super Bowl, he might leave, which I think I think could have very much been the case.
Yeah.
If they had Chris Godwin, I think they could have repeated.
Yeah. Or if they had Tristan Wirfs,
that was a big deal.
Brady was getting his ass kicked the entire game.
Yeah, he
which
was.
Is not something that he's accustomed to.
And that's the best way to beat him.
With the Bucks.
Yeah, that's the best way to beat him. But if they had Chris Godwin, because Mike Evans couldn't do it, he had the one big, really nice catch. But the problem with Mike Evans is he's not a good enough route runner to be able to just be the one guy to go against a guy like Jalen Ramsey. He could do it against some bum corner.
Yeah.
But when he's required to against a top tier safety, I don't think he has it. He's just too straight line.
Yeah.
Big play guy. Godwin is the one who takes some of that pressure off. And Gronk did his best impression of that, but he's still Gronk. And when he catches the ball, it's like that guy's running like a snail.
Yeah.
A fat, big, bulky, strong snail. And that was the biggest issue, but I also agree. I think that Brady will come back.
I think it'll be one more. I think it'll be one more run.
I think so too. I think because they did have some injury issues. They had a lot of unfortunate injuries throughout the entire season. I'm surprised that they were able to play this well, actually. But I think they're going to run it back, and I think I could easily see him retiring no matter what.
Well, and they're going to have an off season too, in which they can identify and actually do something about their issues at certain positions. When you're coming off the Super Bowl, and it was incredible that they brought back all 22 starters or whatever. You don't really look at it the same. You're not really looking to bolster or improve because you just won the freaking Super Bowl and you're bringing everybody back. So, but I think this offseason is going to be a good opportunity for them to actually kind of assess what they need to address.
I also don't understand this absolute infatuation with Cam Akers. He fumbled twice, but
I don't either. He looked good against Arizona
looks
last
fine,
week, but
but he's not like a game breaker. Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson have also looked like that this year when they're healthy.
Pretty much every back in that backfield looks the same.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so frustrating. I hate playing the Rams. I hate playing the Rams. But that's Cooper Kupp's offense. He had 9 receptions for 183 yards and a touchdown, and probably would have had another touchdown if they needed one.
And a fumble.
Right. A massive, could have been potentially drastic fumble. But yeah, I think they will run it back. But that game, here's cool stats for you. Cooper Kupp's 183-yard performance marked his 12th game with 100-plus receiving yards this season, tying Hall of Famer Michael Irvin for the most such games in a single season in NFL history, including the playoffs. Another stat, Von Miller finished with 9 quarterback pressures, a sack, and 2 turnovers forced on 40 pass rushers. So he had he recorded a pressure on a quarter of his snaps. His 9 QB pressures were the 3rd most in a game for Miller in the next-gen era, and Sunday was just the 2nd playoff game in the next-gen era in which a player forced 2 fumbles, 2 turnovers via pressure. Von Miller's been massive for that defense, and I still don't know how they keep trading 5th-rounders for guys.
Yeah, I don't either, man.
I think there's some collusion going on.
Yeah.
I'll die on that hill. Yeah, I hope they lose. And essentially, it went from that game, and immediately after that, it was like you said earlier, 7-7.
You couldn't recover. You couldn't recover. It's just like, what did I just watch? What did I just witness? Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Also, one more note on that game. I saw somebody tweet, and I agreed with it. It kind of felt like the 2012 divisional game for the Seahawks at the Falcons, where it's like, you're screwed, you're screwed, you're screwed, you're screwed, you're screwed. Holy crap, you're gonna win. Oh, you lost.
You lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident actually that the Bucs were gonna win that game.
Yeah, I was too. But anyway, yeah. And so maybe the greatest game that I have ever watched, the greatest football game that I've ever seen in person was a 2012 Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Brandon Weeden, Oklahoma State. Andrew Luck, Stanford.
That's great.
Same thing where I wanted, obviously, Stanford to win. Yep. I was there in person, wanted the Bills to win, and my heart is broken, but I cannot say anything but that was the greatest thing that I've ever watched.
Right.
Even though I am in pain and misery. Like, I was shouting at the screen when they scored
the
go-ahead touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was a roller coaster. Josh Allen, he played like statistically the best game a quarterback's ever played in the playoffs last week. This game was better.
This game was really good.
This game was
insane. It's stupid.
Do you remember all the fourth downs that they had to convert?
Yeah, they went 4 for 4.
Yeah. One of them was 4th and 13.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. That I think also shows you how ridiculous this Chiefs offense can be, because you really have to score and score a lot to keep up with them.
13 seconds will live in the brains of the Bills Mafia forever.
That first play with 13 seconds left was beautifully designed.
And I was like, oh my God, they're going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was so confident.
Yeah.
I mean, what an absolutely amazing. Let's put 4 guys on the left side, and 3 of them are running streaks, and you're going to bring Tyreek Hill right behind all of them.
Yep.
And then just a little tiny in route to him, and then he's going to run 40 yards.
I saw a lot of people being like, screw the Super Bowl, just let's get best 2
of
out
7
of 3.
or best of 5 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I did see that. And that is pretty funny. I think the big takeaway from this game for a lot of people, not so much for me, people hate the overtime rules. What do you do? What do you do?
So
let me hear.
I think it's fine how it is. We were the beneficiaries of this back in 2014.
Yep.
I think it's fine. It does emphasize, like, hey, your defense kind of has to make a stop. But
which is fine.
Unfortunately, in a game like that, the defense is not going to make a stop, because
especially since the team that just scored,
the roofs have caved in. I mean, there were 25
yeah.
points in the past, or in the last 2 minutes of the game. So obviously, it's become that kind of game.
Yeah.
The defenses are gassed. The offenses are going to do whatever it is that they want to do.
Right.
So is it realistic for the Bills defense to go out there and stop?
And it never looked like they were.
No.
That entire drive was easy.
Yep.
I also don't mind the overtime rules. I think there's a few options out there that could be looked at, but I don't know. I don't like colleges and overtime rules. I think the way that the current structure is, especially in a playoff game, you should have a good defense. And if your defense can't stop them, well, that sucks. But
the only thing that Josh Allen could have done better in that game was call heads.
Right.
Which is what you don't do. You don't call heads. Who goes up and calls heads in 2022?
I'd call heads.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, that's you, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do it all day long.
Also, you got to squib it.
Yeah, actually, though, if we're going to look at anything in this game, that was probably the largest mistake by anybody.
100%.
I was shocked when they didn't do it, because it was who said it? Right before the kickoff, they're like, oh, they're probably going to squib it here to take a few seconds off. They should have, because I also was shocked. That was a terrible, terrible decision. Definitely terrible.
And it bit them in the ass. It was pretty much the reason that they lost. I mean, if you shave 3 of those seconds off, I mean, that changes everything.
Sunday night marked the first playoff game in NFL history with 3 go-ahead touchdowns in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
It was insane.
Yeah. Mahomes was pressured on 13 of his 46 dropbacks, almost 30%, but he went 7 of 11 for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns.
If you know a Bills fan, send them love, pray for them, give them a hug.
Yeah. 4 touchdowns for Gabe Davis. Stephon Diggs, 3 catches for 7 yards and a 2-point conversion.
See, but that was what was awesome about Josh. Josh was just, he wasn't
finding
pulling
the guy.
Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't just force feeding his guy. He was taking,
and he hadn't done it all year. Yeah, Stephon Diggs had a good year, but yeah, he was not force fed like he was last year.
I feel so damn bad for the Bills, man.
That does suck,
dude. Like,
I know. And
especially with the whole narrative of last year, Stephon Diggs staying on the field and watching the Chiefs celebrate as they move on to the Super Bowl. And he's like, "We're going to be back." and they get him. And of course, unfortunately, it happens in the divisional round, and this happens.
The only playoff game in NFL history where the quarterbacks combined for 700 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Mahomes and Allen also posted the 21st and 22nd playoff game of 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and a completion percentage of at least 72%. That's awfully specific.
Well, I also think both of them threw for over 100 yards after the 2-minute warning.
Probably, yeah. Yep. Yeah, wild game.
I'm very thankful to have seen that, witnessed that, and I'm glad that it lived up to the billing.
Nice. I am 90% Bengals fan, 10% Chiefs fan, 0% anybody else right now.
As long as Jackson Mahomes is related to Patrick, I'm always going to be like,
and I mentioned this as well to you. I want to see Mahomes do well because I think the only thing he has in his life is football. His girlfriend sucks. His brother really sucks.
His baby's ugly, but that's
his baby's ugly. His voice kind of sucks.
Yeah,
he's kind of ugly too. He looks like a Muppet too. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, real quick, Jabroni. I don't want to do Booker. It's not worth my time. Jabroni is anyone who doesn't watch football.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, literally, this weekend was these 4 games in a whole. Because that was the other stat. This was the lowest amount of point differential across the divisional round at any point in NFL history, and they beat that by like 8 points. It was, I think the record was like 25, and they did it in like 17 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, if you're not watching this because of your concussions or you're taking advantage of people, especially like those people. Yeah.
No, so what I asked you last weekend with the SNL commercial that preceded returning.
Oh, right.
So what they did, basically, they had 3 actors. I recognized none of them, and they looked exactly what you think.
Oh!
And they were making fun of the fact that they were coming on after a football game, and they're like, what is it? Is it hockey?
Yes,
is it? And
yes, I did see that. Yeah,
those guys.
They suck.
Those guys.
Are the absolute
losers.
Absolute losers do not belong to live, do not deserve to belong to this amazing country that loves its NFL.
And I'm sure they love the country very much.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of it.
Okay, so I'll just do one of the jabronis. I don't have to do the basketball one. Just throw up the Jimmy G going up to Robbie Gould. Man,
that feels good. Hey, fucking legend, man. Fuck the past. You fuck the past, man.
So a restaurant in Chicago with their, what's that called? Like a billboard? Yeah. Did in quotes, fuck the Packers, Jimmy G.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's super funny is I think he probably said that because of Robbie's background with the Bears. So I think Robbie Gould for sure was driving home that fact all week.
Robbie Gould's been breaking hearts for like 2
long
decades.
time.
I remember
he broke our hearts.
The divisional round against the Bears back in like 2006 or 2007, whenever that is, and it's like kick goes off, and I'm like, oh shit, he missed it, and then it's like, nope.
Yep.
Throws back in, but man, 20 out of 20 in the postseason is insane.
No.
I mean,
Stud.
that's Adam Vinatieri type stuff.
Absolute stud. All right, this day in sports history, we're going to do a little bit different. I'm going to toss out a couple birthdays today. I told you this one earlier. Masashi Jumbo Ozaki. He is a golfer, not a sumo wrestler.
Okay.
There was a couple good ones in here. I went through this earlier. Chris Warren, former NFL running back for the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. Career cut a little short. He was born in Seattle. Mary Lou Retton, American gymnast. She was a stud.
Cool.
And then Scott Kazmir in 84. And then Luis Suarez, the famous biter. His birthday is today as well. So this day in sports history, 1947, NFL adds its 5th official, the back judge, and allows sudden death in the playoffs. So kind of a little timely, actually. 1952, the first NFL team in Dallas were the Texans, formerly the New York Yanks. They lost 11 of their first 12. 1962, Jackie Robinson is the first black man elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Bob Feller is also elected. And on this day in 64, CBS purchases the NFL TV rights in 64 and 65 for $28 million, which is an absolute bargain.
Yeah.
Absolute steal. All right, closing time. Mine, I wanted to talk about a little bit. We'll do really, really fast because I don't really care. Geno Smith got a DUI a few weeks back. We weren't able to talk about it. He said a lot of stupid things. There you go. He said a lot of stupid things to the cops, as a lot of people who get DUIs usually do. And he, I think his his potential to be Seahawks backup is obviously hurt by that. But the issue is the only other guy on the roster is Jacob Eason, who has done nothing. But he is a Husky, so I guess that's kind of something for people who care about that kind of stuff. I don't, because the Huskies suck. Did you see the Huskies scored like 10 points in the first half yesterday?
Dude.
So bunch of morons.
Dude, ever since they switched to Adidas for their Sportif uniforms,
downhill fast. All right, before you do yours real quick, let's talk about Windermere before we forget. Windermere Services Mountain West proudly services over 60 Windermere offices in Eastern Washington, Idaho, Eastern Oregon, and Montana. They are all in for their local communities. At Windermere Services Mountain West, relationships are the foundation of their business. Their mission is to be successful, team-oriented real estate professionals committed to exceeding expectations through exceptional customer service. They are Windermere. Windermere Services Mountain West is committed to the communities in which they live and work. They are all in for you. Windermere Services Mountain West. Go buy a home. Go sell a home. Use them. All right, closing time. You're up.
Basically, it was just the scene after the game, down on the field in Arrowhead, and bombs are going off everywhere. The fireworks, it looks like a war zone. It looked so crazy. And Patrick runs halfway down the field to go embrace Josh Allen. It was a good moment. But, I mean, look at that. This is insane. That is sad. Like, I understand now, like, people don't know what to do with themselves.
Right.
You're just running around endlessly. But
I figured I
took the time to seek out Josh Allen and
cool.
console him. And, I mean, he was super complimentary of him and as they were of each other. And then Josh Allen also in the postgame press conference took a moment and said that it was really cool for Patrick to do that in the midst of,
See, that's why I'm okay with Mahomes right there.
I like Mahomes.
Exactly. Just focus on the football side.
Okay.
Just don't think about his
sucky
girlfriend, his sucky brother.
The Chiefs, it's like, okay, we've been doing this for 4 years now. I want something different.
And that's 100% fair, and I agree with that, but I still like them more than the Rams or the Niners.
Fair.
90% Bengals, 10% Chiefs. Go Bengals. And if it has to happen, go Chiefs.
Also, remember, George Kittle on the sidelines of the Super Bowl in 2019 said, I will be back here. I will be back here. Has a chance to get back there.
He does.
Go Niners.
He does.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Nope.
Ooh, how about that? That
nope.
felt weird.
All right. I hate that. We're changing our days. We'll no longer be on Mondays.
We're going back to the OG.
We're not sure if it'll stick. We're going to try out. But right now, it'll be Thursdays in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right around that lunchtime period.
Right around. Yeah. We'll hit your lunch break.
Most people are drinking beers at 12 on Thursday, so we're going to be right in that window.
Right in that prime window. That prime time window.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, have a great week. Enjoy the fog. I think it's here to stay. And we will see you next week on Thursday.